morning to you. We are set to go here, second round of the day in the Open Division here at EYUC, coming to you from Padova, live on ULTI.TV. We've got the Dutch and the Israelis set to do battle. I'm Stefan Rapazzo. I'm here with Hannah Pendlebury. Ready for this one, Hannah? What do we expect?
Well, expect the unexpected. Our first round of power pools. The lower power pool in front of us. Of course, it's fighting to stay alive and get yourself into the championship bracket, into the pre-quarter rounds, if you can get there. At the moment, these two teams have had a mixed bag of results. There haven't been a complete washout. The Israelis said that their favourite moment of this tournament so far was actually winning a game against the Swiss Open side earlier stages, one of their favourite opponents to play. But yeah, I'm not going to call this one in favour of either team really thus far. In terms of the previous results, of course, you carry through some of the results from pool play, so there will be a defeat against the Irish that gets carried through for the Netherlands, and of course that victory over the Swedes for the Israelis will carry through into this. So it's all about staying in it to win it, getting yourself into the pre-quarter stages, because the top of this Open Division is looking very tasty indeed, Steph.
Yeah, it's getting tight now. We, of course, saw the Irish-Dutch game that Hannah's talking about that is being carried over. That one was on the stream. You can go back and give that a watch anytime you like. But a great game, more so for the Irish. I think the Dutch kind of lost a little bit of their speed that they had at the start of that game. They tailed off towards the end, and the Irish took advantage to get that win, and now that win gets carried over. So the Dutch probably need this one just a bit more, carrying over a loss. The Israelis carrying over that win must feel good. They got the win at the right time, because that is the sole win for their campaign.
It certainly is. They're a real kind of mixed of ability, is this Israeli team. Every player that entered their trial process has made it through to this squad, because of course not one of the flushest junior divisions sort of in the European divisions. But look out for certainly the likes of Errol Shiloni, who currently is racking up the stats for the Israelis, wearing the number 12 shirt. He currently is 27 coming into this game in total, 12 assists and 15 goals, alongside some of his other well-decorated teammates as well. Daniel Valenci, 10 total stats, 6 assists and 4 goals. Of course, assists only tell part of the story. And then for the Netherlands, you've got some really experienced athletes, Maurice Witkam and Immer Hansma, of course, loads of high-level club experience that they bring alongside. But the number of under 17 players that are coming through on this Netherlands team, it's a real mix-up, kind of passing the torch, if you will, from the elder junior athletes to the youngers coming through. I think they have some 15 and 16-year-olds on their roster.
Yeah, seen a few of them on that roster. Looking through the names, Moyal stands out, one of the more diminutive players on that team, a 15-year-old. And also of note, Maurice Witkam, a little bit of out again, in again for this tournament. He's had some injury issues, nothing major, but has kind of jumped out and back in, and he is back. And the Dutch fans and certainly teammates will be happy to see him back and playing for this game, because, as Hannah said, one of the way more experienced players in this division.
Indeed, a name we're very familiar with saying at the club level, for sure.
Well, here come the Dutch. We are off and running after the first pull. Brought them to the brick mark. Witkam goes up line after distributing, and now it's Hansma who keeps things going. Witkam again. Gets it to that far sideline. Derks. Forward again to Derks. Witkam in the goal. And Dutch were pretty efficient on their first asking.
Yeah, the Dutch really do favour a very flow style of offence, so don't expect them to do too much movement in terms of when things are clicking and humming. On offence, they're just looking to kind of spread the field, make sure their spacing is correct and allow that easy flow, just keeping their spacing, I think. So in terms of what the Israelis are going to have to try and do is really put pressure on the match defence, maybe do some kind of, you know, intelligent zone perhaps at certain points to try and force the Dutch into uncomfortable spaces. But we'll see what they'll come out with, and we'll get our first look at a Netherlands D-line. One of the things that strikes you about this Dutch team, even though the average height of Dutch athletes tends to be a little bit higher than other kind of counterpart nations, they don't actually have that many super lanky athletes, Steph. So they're not going to be kind of using massive height advantages in terms of big plays. They're going to look for that smaller ball, more conservatism stuff. There was a joke actually amongst some of their captains that maybe some of their youth players haven't been drinking enough milk to reach the lofty heights of some of the athletes we're used to seeing on the seniors team for the Dutch.
Is that all it takes is milk drinking? I better start now. Am I too late at age 44, Hannah, to use milk to make me taller too?
I don't know. Maybe you have to go for some North American non-FDA approved milk.
Okay, jeez. We'll see what happens with the dairy consumption. For now, offside called. The Israelis are going to take it from their brick mark.
Yeah, you've got to use it. It's a really good way to get yourself a nice starting position for a set play. So let's see if they're going to bring one out.
Moyal already testing his jab steps on his defender well before the disc is even brought into play, but now it arrives. And Romano puts it into play. Far sideline, Moradian. And he goes deep, and step in front was always available, kind of always in front defense there. Now Janssen gives and gets. That one from Keroven. And now back to Van Linge. He sends it deep. Receiver's not going to be able to get there, and Israel will start again.
Yeah, Renan Moyal actually playing some great sort of shepherding work. Knew exactly where that disc was going, and even though not the largest statured player you'll ever see on an ultimate field, really just held that position well, just in that spot being like, yeah, see if you can play through me. But also I like the gentlemanliness actually there after that play from Dan Janssen, who read the disc exceptionally well, actually having a little check to make sure that his matchup was okay.
Great spirit here in the junior division. Schuster Shiloni moves it forward. Of course, he's the top 7 scorer across the division, including being the top scorer on his team here. So they'll be looking to him. Now Romano goes inside, gets Fahima. Shot for goal, that one's hanging well received. Fahima there for the goal reception.
Yeah, really nice, smooth work there for Israel. Just the 14 years old, Elam Fahima, which is an absolute stunning fact. So this is the under-20s division, just in case you were unaware. But representing very well.
They're going way under with 14-year-olds on the team. Great to see that they've implemented the true youth of the game.
Indeed. Well, his club team is actually monsters. A lot of this Israel side is made of the new age team, of course, the most famous club team coming out of Israel, and all of the coaches are from that club as well. But there's some other representation, and a lot of these youth athletes for Israel are also involved in their local kind of coaching academy, which helps to develop the youngsters coming through.
So the coaches make a living of beating up on their players in their internal league. Is that how it goes, I guess?
Exactly. That's how you know, metal sharpens metal.
Yes. And hammers flatten nails. That's still metal on metal, but that one way to learn. They're always learning. If you're not winning, you're learning, I guess. And here come the Dutch. First throw to Janssen. He gets it forward, and the immediate shot from Tom Janssen, but that's knocked away. Great slap out there by Ben Shalom.
Yeah, a little bit too much of a dialed-in throw on this one. Can see acres of room, 0 mark, but a little bit too hasty. The position there underneath. You have to think that maybe if there was a little bit more voom on it. Might have made it to the intended receiver, but just throwing down that open side rather than going for the break is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Because there was no mark.
Exactly, and a bit more space on the break side. Ooh, bobbled, but kept by Alali. Playing in their own end zone. This is dangerous area, of course, known as Callahan country. Playing offense in your own end. Any interception there would spell trouble, but the Israelis continue. Alali again. That's Paz. Dumps back.
It's a really compressed field for Israel. They're not really sending too many people really into the deep space to try and stretch the zone, which there's absolutely zero wind. They can really afford to do that and be quite expansive if they want to.
Alfan moves it up, and now it's Lavir. Halson Lavir again. Lavir into Kaplun. Paz fakes the up line and returns to center. Or at least in that general direction. Valenti, and now they're really retreating again. Back to their own goal line. Valenti goes wide and around.
Yeah, again, there's no one really pushing the deeps anywhere near the back. Let's get a little bit of action now, and they're going to take it.
Until Hannah says it, there wasn't. And now they get away with one. Ben Shalom. Inside to Lavir. Ben Shalom again with the disc. And they got all their meters in one throw. Halfan. Inside shot. Valenci back to Halfan. Halfan. Ooh, into a little bit of traffic there. And the long arm of the Dutch player there knocks it away. Well done to Derks.
Yeah, that's a real shame. You can see that little moment of hesitation where Sahar Alali had sort of stopped on his cup, but the Danes, not Danes, the Dutch will get the disc back.
Whitcomb gets the gainer. Van Voorkum goes around. De Jong gets meters to Whitcomb again. He pops one over the top and trusts Dex to do the rest of the work there. Dex now pops one right back and returns the favor to Whitcomb. Whitcomb leads in, and a little stutter step by Grasbeck, and they're in.
Yeah, great heads up from Grasbeck. I'm not sure he initially was expecting that throw to come, but it works out. Some real high stall situations for the Dutch there. I really like the presence of mind on the defense, again, from Yali Ben Shalom. You can sort of see him sort of sagging off his mark. I think his matchup is Thies Lurse, and kind of just exploiting the fact that there's not a lot of real active movement from this Dutch offense. They are all about the spreading and the spacing, so you can sag off certainly that high release, exploiting the face mark to get to Maurice Whitcomb to reset the stall. A couple of passes before that score went to Levi Gasbeck. But certainly a good, intelligent defense from the Israelis, and that's one turnover for each D-line generated. So we may well get an upset in the early stages of this first half.
We will see. We'll keep our eye on that, of course. It's been nothing but holds, but opportunities, as Hannah mentions, to disrupt them holds. Shout out to all those back at home watching. Thanks for being with us. As Milan lets you know, we're working on any lag. Thanks for staying through. We will get there. We know that much. So stay with us. Thanks for your patience. As Israel Jakubowicz. Now a quick movement there through all sorts of hands until Moyal stops with the disc. And then that one goes to Fahima. Back to Romano. Romano finds some space and gets Fahima. Ooh, there's a backup plan there. Luckily for Israeli, Jakubowicz is there and sorts things out after it bounces off the hand. But this time, Jakubowicz can't get the hands clapped, and it's in the hands of the Dutch. Break chance available. Wind up was there and then put it away. Meyer goes inside to Janssen. Janssen goes to his brother Dan Janssen, who shoots for goal. What are you talking about? How did he come up with that with the right hand? There's a full body contortion. There's a pick called that's going to take back that exceptional play, but wow.
Wow, indeed. I mean, the pick, unfortunately, is quite early, sort of in the play. So it will need to come back, I think. Yeah, about there. So this is a really great play, that kind of like just throwing the knee down in bounds and really launching with that right side. Of course, not to be recommended in terms of form that's going to keep your body in great fettle, because of course all the momentum and the impact with the ground there for Fabien Dandon is all on that sort of right thigh. But heck, what a pickup.
Great pickup. Here they come. Van Linge goes in now to Janssen. That's Tom Janssen. Goes back to Dan Janssen. Backhand inside. Nice and easy, Meyer, and that's a break for the Dutch.
Yeah, the zone paying off some dividends for the Dutch. I really do like that option in terms of kind of, I think, the foot speed, sort of toe-to-toe. There's a lot of these Israel athletes that can really just absolutely rinse you apart. But asking the challenge, I mean, using zone at a youth level tends to be quite effective anyway, just in terms of, you know, the more passes you can make your opponents throw, even in seniors, you know, it can be a good strategy. There is zero wind here, so it's clearly a strategy for the Dutch to try and put a lot of force and pressure around the disc and really kind of make those miscues happen between the Israeli handlers, and that's what happened.
Yeah, the zone tends to rely on weather to help it out, but in the junior division, just that exceptional pressure on the throwers will really let us see what these throwers are all about, how far they've developed in their young years, and is definitely a sound tactic early in games. They've taken the time out on the field. We're going to do the same. We'll be right back with you after these words.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Dutch have just broken their first of the game, the only break of the game. There's Dan Janssen with his assist and block to his name. And it's 3-1 for the Dutch in these early stages, Hannah.
Certainly is. I kind of called it in the last point that we might get a spoil of everything being on serve. Certainly I didn't kind of, you know, verbalize it at the time, but it was clear that It was the favour for the Dutch to come out. They obviously had that clean hold to start off the game. And looking at the pass tally here, of course, it's fairly obvious that the Dutch have been playing zone defence against Israel so far. So hopefully that timeout can have taken some tactical changes. I certainly really do like it when the Israel players spread themselves out and space well on the pitch to try and to get that advantage of the low wind conditions.
Let's see how they come this time. Halfun goes through, now in the middle. Romano. And the zone maintained by the Dutch, the 2-3-2. Valenci to Romano. Halfon engages and then goes to the other side. Valenci. And Israel resorting to going backwards. Halfon. Deep cut comes and opens some space in the middle of the field. And there is a collision that will slow things down.
I am liking the way that the handlers set at the back are working together, sort of trading places, but I'd like to see them be a little bit more active, a bit more aggressive, and make those movements sooner and earlier, because that is what's going to find those lacy throws through the back of the cup.
Halfon gets the first pass after the stoppage. Dumps back to Romano. Romano looks to Valenci. And then breaks to Halfon. Halfon goes back, Valenci, and then Moyal. Valenci. Israelis taking their time, staying patient right now. Moyal. You may have noticed that most of these Israelis go to the same barber.
I did ask their coaches who they thought had the best hair on the team. They said they couldn't choose, but they did name someone as they thought who had the worst hair on the team.
I can't wait to hear who that is. I could probably pick a choice or two, but I'm not going to actually go through with that. Halfon with the disc. And this Dutch zone, credit to them, they are upping the pass count, if nothing else. And the more passes they're going to make, the more likelihood for the error to come. For now, staying clean and crisp. Schuster-Shaloni now to Moyal. Schuster-Shaloni again. Zips one into the hands of Romano. And now Halfon goes for, not quite goal, Valenci. About 4 meters out, Schuster-Shaloni. That one would be a goal, and it is a goal. And he's gonna drive the bus over his head with that celebration. And Israel hold again and bring it back to within one.
Well, I'm looking for, Elia, our stats keeper, has been filling us up with information this entire tournament long. Shout out to his hard work. 38 passes as our system loads. 38 passes completed by the Israeli players. So that's a really, I love that little drive of the bus celebration afterwards. But that is a real testament to just kind of settling the nerves. I think it was a good call on the timeout, kind of, you know, thinking about what it is they wanted to do. I still think they have more to give from the agility, from the kind of the backhander space. Really enjoyed when René Moyal came in and sort of, you know, played that far wing space. It's a bit like, you know how you get kind of running backs that are really that small, slippery, difficult person to match? It'd be nice to see him kind of be more involved by crashing through the cup, because, okay, yeah, not a very big wingspan to hit, but actually when you're crashing through the cup, that agility, his ability to turn, is much sort of, you know, the center of gravity is lower. It'd be nice to see him be a little bit more dynamic. Early stages in that point, there were a lot of negative passes that were taken by the handlers, just being a little bit too static. But it worked out, paid off, and of course another assist there for Errol Schuster-Shaloni, who of course also played at the European Ultimate Championships a couple of weeks ago in Ireland and was representing Israel at the Joint Juniors Championship last year.
As that, Hannah Pendlebury giving us some NFL analogies there with the running backs. Love to hear it. Hope you at home are picking up on those ones too.
Yeah, but I'm a Bears fan, so it's a hard life.
The Bears. And here comes the Dutch. Oh, intercepted early in the sequence, but not so fast. They're going to chat about that one. Dax says there was a hand on it, and it is accepted.
Yeah, definitely did not go to the intended target.
This one comes around Kasbek. Now, Witkam. He gets it moving forward. Tom Janssen. Morris Witkam throws inside, gets a reception to De Jong. De Jong back to Witkam. Witkam leads for goal, and wide open was Dax. And the Dutch doing it with a bit more efficiency. They're on the board again.
Indeed, and you can just about pick up the sound of the vuvuzela on the far sideline from one of the Dutch supporters. I think the really effective use there of the inside breaks was really nice to watch. Sort of just that soft side, sort of trusting their athletes upfield to really, commit to those sort of bounce cuts, that you're going to the open side, but then you're immediately turning, and there's that little sliver of a channel where you can put the disc. It's a really easy break throw just over the shoulder of your mark, and just winning that little race, that small channel to the side. So perhaps an adjustment required from the forces of the Israel athletes. You see them having a mini huddle up there on the far sideline there. Next 7 are already out on the field, ready to go.
You talked about it last time about using Moyal as a bit of a running back coming in, more a bit of aggressivity. I also remember their last point, their big gainer was a throw to the middle when they finally had a couple of their receivers cutting very deep, stretching the deep players back. Right now, the Dutch defense can just keep compressing. If they're going to keep 7 in the box, it's going to stay difficult for them. If the Israelis can stretch that field as well, then players like Moyal can do that damage in the center.
Absolutely, and certainly rotating other players as well. Schuster Shaloni pretty much just hung out somewhere in the zone during a lot of that previous point. In fact, there he is, right in the middle, just sort of doing damage, just waiting for that one to get through the cup. This is much better movement, pushing forward from behind the disc.
As efficient as they've been to get to half. Romano now. Halvan. Ooh, throws through a small window there, but Valencia and Romano go back and forth now. Schuster Shiloni back to Valencia. Israel have been as efficient as we've said as they have been all game. They go backwards for a couple throws, but they're in the red zone.
And the real difference is the fact that when their handler throws and then, or their players throw and then follow their pass through, that really exposes the cup, because it creates that channel and that window of opportunity to then put the pass to the next player behind.
How active will they remain now that they're in the red zone? The defense will definitely be filling more of the space in the smaller field. Schuster Shaloni goes backwards. Valencia goes wide. Fahima finds Romano. And Romano chisels in. It's Schuster Shaloni who gets the goal in the end. And Israel score there as well as they've looked, Hannah.
Yep, and I think that's probably around half the pass count. Let's see when our system refreshes. Not quite, but 10 fewer passes required. And that is obviously, just trying to chip away. I think at this point, if you're the Dutch coaches, you're going to have to now change up the zone look, or maybe play a couple of points of match D, just to stop the Israel players from getting too familiar with the zone look that we have, because that one was just a really nice kind of again, the spacing was still there from the Israel players. They were still kind of, you know, holding their form quite well. There wasn't too much clustering. Certainly a really good spacing on the kind of offside of the handlers on the far side of the field. There was a pass that actually, until it went, I forgot that the player was even there.
Yeah, the best they've done, as we said, 28 passes. I like your idea, Hannah. If I'm the Dutch coaching staff, if we can score here and I get my defense back on the field, yeah, I would like they're still working hard to beat that zone, but they're in that mindset now. They're ready to play O against that zone. Let's change it up before we redeploy that same zone. Give them a point or two of match. Maybe you'll get the results anyways. If not, you'll just take their offense into a new mindset and not allow them to feel comfort at all. Here are the Dutch. De Jong to Vidkamp. Vidkamp gets the gainer, gets it straight back out of the hands of Lause. Vidkamp again. Goes inside, Hansma. Nice throw, beautiful throw by Hansma. Within the pivot, pivoting over while releasing. Great throw to assist, and the Dutch score again.
And they score again on an inside backhand break. You can see the real commitment from the mark, actually, which you have to do. You know, you sort of take your choices. But this is the this will be the hockey assist. Goes to the around. You can see the big flash of the mark all the way to the far side, but doesn't quite come close enough to really apply any meaningful pressure on the thrower. Sahar Alami needs to kind of be a bit more active on his feet, just get close, get up as a sort of, you know, in the business area, I guess. So now let's find out what the Dutch are going to do on their next D point. That's a really quick and easy clean hold, 8 passes required.
And that's the big difference when you look at the Israeli scoring. Their first one, reasonably easy. Then 38 and 28 to score. The Dutch scores that are not breaks have been on 7, 9, 11, and 8 passes. Very clearly doing it with a lot more ease. And as such, pressure is on the Israelis to change things, especially with 1 break already for the Dutch.
Yeah, I'll have to be assessing, I think, what the force that's chosen will be for the next point when the Israel team come out on defense, because they've been forcing a lot of backhands, which I think, again, like that's what is making it quite easy to release those high inside breaks for the team in orange.
Looks like we're getting another zone, though. The zone has changed, though.
More of a cup.
Giving a 3-3-1 rather. So they're staying zone, but something different and paid dividends in the early going. A bit more pressure on the handlers, and the pressure got to them there. Hansma picks up with a vertical stack and an isolation on Vidkamp, and that's all they needed was the ISO. Vidkamp scores in 1 throw, and the Dutch get their second break of the day.
Well, you're always going to see a one-on-one battle in the end zone. Pretty much 99.999 recurring % of the time go to the player on offense. You know exactly where you're going. I really like the kind of the setting up, not facing the thrower at all, just kind of then shooting over that back shoulder. Really hard cut. Nice and easy stuff for the 19-year-old. Of course, this is the last youth representation you'll see for Maurice Vidkamp.
Oh, poor fella. He's got to go play with the grown-ups now.
Yeah, well, also the under-24s. Of course, we did see him at the under-24s level back in Nottingham, one of the younger players on that squad. So, you know, but that's not a true youth division like the under-20s is. But so his career highlight so far for Maurice Vidkamp was winning Windmill. And of course, the Dutch will be looking to try and fight their way through this lower power pool to get themselves into pre-quarters. There's still an opportunity, but initially seeded, I believe, the Netherlands in 11th spot. So the second last position, and I think they feel, from them, the only way is up. Whereas for Team Israel, their kind of mentality coming into this tournament was the underdog vibe.
Yeah, underdog vibe for Israel. Dutch probably felt like they should have been seated a little bit higher, but seeding, schmeeding a little bit. There's so much turnover on these teams from year to year. You just got to show up and win.
Absolutely.
That's what it comes down to. Dutch had a couple tight losses, the ones on stream. So if they have improved over the week, they're going to try and make those losses count for nothing into this power pool. So far, looking good.
We finally see a match defense played by the Dutch.
And if he catches this, that could be the last.
Oh, that's such a shame. I think an earlier play on the disc from Daniel Valenci might have ended up with that one being a score. You can see probably at this moment, maybe if there's the the proper full spring layout, but it's a relatively short roster for both of these sides, so maybe a little bit of tiredness creeping into the legs on here on day 4.
Yeah, that one just a bit too far in front as well. I mean, could have been made to be easier. He did have the separation. Throw really asking a lot. Now they're going to give it right back, are the Dutch, as Meyer throws that one out. Lucky it came back into bounds because most of the travel was out.
Yeah, Moradian just making sure.
Of course, if that stayed out of bounds for the whole flight and never came back in, the Israelis would have brought it back into play where the throw came from. So small advantage for the Dutch on that turnover.
I'm not sure I'd call that an advantage. I think the Israelis really like to kind of cut under and then cut hard really into the deep space. So having a stretchier field might work out well for them.
Let's have a look. Valenci goes to Halfon. Moyal back to Halfon. And Romano. Valenci, Romano gets space, and he's got a receiver, and it's Schuster-Shaloni. He does get there, trailing away. Great play by Schuster-Shaloni to track that one down as he bit his body into the back corner of the end zone.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a struggle still sometimes on these resets for Israel Open, but actually I do think it is that case of when they have enough field to work with, it opens up those deep cuts that the Israel team really seem to like. I suppose that's why we're getting a lot of zone coming out of the Dutch side, but that's a really fantastic rundown from Errol Schuster-Shaloni. Makes the bid a little bit, just slightly underdone, but I mean, obviously very effective. You can see there's a little bit of a bite off from the mark of Schuster-Shaloni, maybe trying to get involved and helping on that upline cut, which I think probably was a moment of a miscue for the Dutch defender. There's no real opportunity to make a play on that upline cut if you're behind the disc anyway. Certainly, we do see when players get involved in that fashion, a lot of dangerous plays. Certainly, I've seen some pretty nasty injuries where someone's poached off from a cut behind on an upline like that. But all's fair and a really fantastic way to score, and our first look at really some Netherlands person defense. And I don't think we'll see too much more.
So that one into the hands of the Dutch as they get going on their next possession. Vitkum underneath. Flips one to the far side. Janssen to Vitkum. So that was Derks to Vitkum. It moved right away. Van Voorkum. De Jong. Morris Vitkum. Nice inside throw. Janssen to Vitkum, not in yet. Not far though, the lefty backhand over top, that'll do it. Derks for the goal reception.
It is that real subtle height advantage for the Dutch. It's not, the usual affair we're used to seeing, as we already mentioned, for some of the senior squads where you've got players that are just like, you're how tall, mate? But it's the kind of just ability to throw the disc, release it a little bit higher. There is practically zero wind. I know as soon as I say that, we get a little gust that goes through our commentary pavilion, but realistically the flags have barely moved during this game. So those higher release backhands over the shoulders of the mark, an offhand lefty for that eventual score, but you can see again the separation as well on the break side. Some of the Israeli players just running out of gas a little bit, and unsurprisingly, a fantastic stats board thus far this game from Morris Fitka. Also, massive shout out to the live chat. The reference to a bit of Dragon Ball Z, Valencia and Errol being better than Vegeta and Goku.
I don't know what that means.
It's just basically two friend and also bitter rivals from an old anime show, Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, I'll take your words for it.
It's all right. Well, we can inform you of exactly what that is. Also, there was a bit of family love. Great coaching for the Dutch, of course, coming from Jasper van den Brink, and Wiebke is one of the coaches for the Dutch side. So one of the masterminds behind these zone looks.
Nice to see. Lekker, lekker, Dutch fans. Here come the Israelis. All of them. Ooh, well handled there. That one's coming in hot. Good catch by Fahima. And now it's back in the hands of Moradian. Romano goes back to Alpha. And Romano. And they're going backwards, and they're playing against a match defense right now.
Yeah, but I think they've got some of the matchups a little bit better honed. Dan Janssen there taking on the mark for Schuster Shiloni. Good choice.
That's going to be the one they've got to probably take most care of here, though there are other weapons on this Israeli team, but he's proven to be the most deadly. Nice inside throw there by Valenci. And now Schuster Shiloni wound up, but good marking defense to take away the backhand. Romano gets a gainer. Ben Shalom moves it to Schuster Shiloni. Valenci. Oh, and the step in front. Great position there by Van Rossum to slap it away.
Yeah, just that lack of activity on the far side of the field allowed the Handlermots poach off very effectively. And a timeout being taken by the Dutch.
Timeout by the Dutch. Hannah says it's a lack of activity. I would just get rid of the of and say lactivity. And any which way you slice it, the Dutch have a nice lead. High potential to take half based on the way they played. Here's a look at some of the highlights from that last play, including that, the step in front defense that got them the disc back. They're on a timeout on the field. We're going to take a timeout here too, and we'll be back after these fine words.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Back here in Padova, we're watching and bringing you the action from EYUC. It's 7-4 for the Dutch, and they threatened to take half, and because they know that that was coming, they took a little time out to talk about it. We know that Sometimes these timeouts can go astray, much the same as do-it-yourself chairs could fall down. Timeouts may not work out in favor of the takers just the same, Hannah.
Yeah, the little behind the scenes that Steph's referring to is that our flight case chair has, for the second time this championship, come a cropper and sent our desk producer flying backwards into the grass. But, I mean, it's pretty nice field conditions. Certainly, despite the hot weather that's been happening recently in Padova, the pitch maintenance here at this complex has been fantastic. Centro Sportivo Giuliano.
And as much as it's been hot right now, it is just a tiny bit of overcast. Skies are still more blue than gray, but the sun covered up, and it's quite comfortable right now. I'm not sweating, and I suffer from hyperhidrosis, so I sweat quite easily. So if I'm not sweating, it's quite pleasant.
It's very fine conditions for a game of ultimate frisbee.
Meyer kicks things off. That one, Van Linge. Van Linge goes around Dan. Janssen inside throw, very nice looking one. Van Rossum to the sideline. Woudstra. Woudstra finds Meyer. Tries to break, but tough mark to get around. Van Linge. He goes big. That one's hanging. There's going to be a few, but it's only one who will get his hand on that Euro disc. And that's Dan Janssen for the goal for the Dutch.
Yeah, a bit of a sort of chuck it and hope affair. Certainly a lot of pressure on the back of Dan Janssen, but really great pull down for the man from Utrecht. And it was really good. Finally, we see the Israel team put on a forehand force. It's the first time in a little while we've seen that. They've generally favoured the backhand, so trying to create a different pressure. Plenty of air being breathed down the back of the neck of Dan Janssen. But
match stats from the first half, Hannah. What jumps off that page?
The singular break chance that's been shown for the Israeli side. It's just the one chance they've missed against the Dutch very early stages. The third point of the game was when they got that turnover. Of course, there was a second turn that was called back on a foul by the mark that was immediately accepted. So very few opportunities for Israel to grab those breaks. Hopefully they can do something different. We did see them change up their force to a forehand rather than a backhand, because of course the inside soft breaks that the Dutch have been throwing have been really devastating, allowing them to just move themselves over to the break side and to keep that flow going. Certainly they are having to move a lot more in the mid-section of the first half. So the first couple of points, they were just spacing themselves wisely and not really doing too much cutting upfield. So there has been some good pressure applied, but Israel just need to hold here and get the second half underway with a stoic performance.
Of course, the Dutch been efficient with their break chances. About 60%, 3 for 5. Converted, so can't afford to give them any touches of the disc when Israel starts on O, which is happening right now. Here come the Israeli attack. Schuster Shaloni gets in the middle. Now Valenci goes back to Halfon. Halfon again. Fima. Halfon and now Valenci. They're going all the way around. Dutch have re-employed their zone back to the 2-3-2 that made life difficult in the first half. Sorry, that is not true. This is a puppy fence, a 1-3-2-1. Faima goes back to Halfon. So the Dutch using everything in their playbook, but nothing to stop that shot. And if you can get through the front of the zone, you're going to get goals shortly thereafter, as they do there to Moyal, the 15-year-old, cashing in a goal.
Yeah, really a fantastic play from the back set. So this is what we were talking about in the early stages, that Israel were not doing particularly well. It's being really active around the disc and pushing in from sort of the space there. I like the name of puppy fence for the zone. I'm not exactly sure where that comes from, but certainly that little sort of gap where the cup have to really take the spacing away in terms of they can't, double team you, coming from behind the disc and just the little kind of just pop passes through, keeping the flow, keeping it going. Occasionally there was a secondary pass that was available, some really solid faking, especially if it got near to the end zone, of looking at a throw, making the mark in the center of the cup sort of move, and then taking that kind of, looking away and then sort of shooting that one through. That, of course, was the hockey assist setting up that score for René Moyal.
In Australia, they call it a pommy, so an English zone, or the puppy fence. And, of course, the puppy is the one that is always on the mark. So it's like a little puppy, just chase the disc, follow the disc. Wherever the disc goes, the puppy goes. And, yes, so there's many ways of calling that zone, but in that sense, the one being the puppy, and it worked, but not as well as the other zones. Israel found some success there. And in as few passes as we've seen them score as well.
Yeah, just 20.
Dutch find all sorts of space. Wow, and that one, Hasbeck scores a travel called.
Intriguing.
The travel.
Yeah, so obviously now the rules adjustment, if you don't set a pivot, you don't need
Not
to.
A travel.
Yeah.
Not a travel.
Unless it's the first one from Guido van der Borkum. There was a little bit of a back foot drag, maybe.
I have a tough time identifying either of those as a travel personally. They are...
So retracted. There you go.
Retracted. I think that's very good spirit. I think sometimes you do got to be reminded of those new rules. The way it used to be is not the way it is. And yeah, watching that on the replay, it looked like, blown coverage, 3 players in an open space, and they were just throwing on the move as quick as possible.
Well, that is one of the principles of flow-based offenses. You don't have to set a pivot point. Actually, as long as you're, not violating the rules of kind of, going for that. Remind me, how many footsteps is it you're allowed?
It's not a count of steps, I do not believe. That it is just a matter of slowing down without any change of speed or direction and putting your foot down. Sometimes people can take advantage of that, and there is step counting that happens to say, come on, I saw 7 steps there. There's no way you couldn't have come to a stop before that. And, that's enough to say, okay, I'm sticking with my travel call. But it is not a matter of number. It is a matter of immediacy, trying to stop.
A perfect explanation, if we do say so ourselves. I also enjoyed ULTI.TV's just kind of milking every last drop out of the kind of pass with a little bit of air underneath it, getting those extra steps as well. But a smart play and a very rapid pace again for the Dutch O-line. When they come out with receiving the disc, they really are very difficult to slow down or stop, especially once they get past their initial handler set.
Israel, let's see if they can score with growing efficiency. The Dutch have gone back to another zone. They are just changing it up every play. I like it. I must say, it's easier to do when you're in the lead to be able to deviate this much, but I really do like the way the Dutch are deploying their defensive looks. Valenci to one of the Halfons. Ooh, big smack there. Mayer, and the Dutch get about 10 meters in 2 throws after the block. Janssen, Mayer. Van Linge. He goes deep. He's got a receiver. And Den Doonen puts one on the board for the Dutch. 9-5, Hanny. What a way to make a living.
Well, no lingering or hesitation to put that throw up into the space. A really great cut and position from Fabian Den Doonen. Just...
Of course, I had to say 9-5, what a way to make a living, because it is no longer 9-5, and I missed my true opportunity. That makes it 10-5.
Yeah, doubling the score lines. I didn't catch that either, Steph. Of course, it's just a case of us allowing all of our systems to update. You see Ben Davis there, one of the coaches, with his nice bit of camera equipment attached. Of course, said that underdog mentality for Israel. I think, again, it's the changing of the zones, the kind of the format adjustment. In terms of, I think, the key for the strength for the Dutch on that side is just the communication they have with each other. Kind of, you know, the way that the program works for the Dutch youth divisions is that they actually have pop-up practices in the early doors of their campaign, where all of the youth players that are interested in playing for the national teams are invited. So they have various different locations where they bring everyone together, they coach all of the athletes at their disposal, and then they start to kind of make their selections and whittle things down. So the connections and the communication between the Dutch players is really, really strong, despite the difference in their ages.
Shaloni Schuster to Haflon. Halfon goes back. Valenci. Shaloni Schuster. Romano. Gainer there to Moyal. Throw from the sideline, back into Shaloni Schuster. And nothing yet. Fahima goes back towards center, Halfon. Halfon to Romano. Romano to Shaloni Schuster. And back to Valenci. Valenci in for goal. Moyal, the youngster's second goal of the game, makes it 6-10.
Yeah, another one just sort of slipping through the kind of space in the end zone, and a really nice shot. I really enjoyed the movement during that point from Daniel Valenci, especially this little stutter movement he makes to just make himself available in the short space right in front of the disc, and that is what opens up the scoring opportunity to René Moyal. Moyal, of course, one of two twin brothers on this team. Thomas Moyal in the number 11, the fellow 15-year-old, been playing for 1.5 years. But it was René that started the campaign playing Ultimate. He sort of convinced Thomas to come in and get involved. But René Moyal was just sort of fell in love with the sport at an early stage, number 7. Just enjoys the fact that there's the kind of the self-officiating nature, as well as the highlights, those jazzy plays. But certainly players to watch for the future. But the Dutch team just look a little bit too settled at this stage. There are 4 breaks to the better of their opponents, and just really, especially on offense, they just look very calm with the disc. There's not that many moments. They're in the sort of mid-stage of the first half, there was a point where the Israel defense pressured them into some really high-score resets, but generally speaking, they have looked mostly very comfortable indeed.
Boris Wittgum takes the first pass coming out of the stack. The horizontal one at that is what they started in. Janssen gets it back from De Jong. Now Janssen to Dax. Dax goes all the way across and gets a reception for goal. Dutch do it quick. It's 11-6. Still a lead in their favor. The Karovin goal.
Exceptionally quick offense. 9 passes for that one. There have been a couple of moments where the Dutch have barely broken into double digits in order to complete their offensive holds. Really solid spacing. You can see that there are players who are trying to play intelligent defense, especially when they're further upfield or away from the disc for the Israelis. But there was a moment there where actually I think there was an opportunity a little bit squandered on one of the upline. Maybe some switching is in order for the Israel defense to try and kind of, again, get that communication more involved, like the Netherlands have been doing in their zone. Kind of, you know, just keep on talking to each other. Teams don't talk enough on the pitch between each other, especially on defense, I find.
More talking out there.
It's honestly, it was a game changer. When I played World Masters, big shout out to Gráinne McCarthy, who was my sort of counterpart when I was on the field. She was always talking to me, telling me where the disc was, informing me where the threats were on the field. And actually, that allows you to know when you can switch with your kind of, you know, fellow teammates when you're in live play. But the pass tally here, Steph, over double the passes for Israel versus the Dutch.
Wow, efficient by the Dutch. Speaking of talking a lot, Ravi Vasudevan back in the chat says we've got it wrong and it is a matter of steps. So we'll get back to that by the mouth of the north there. Ravi Vasudevan, of course, a coach of the Dutch national team at EUC. So having a keen eye on this game. Shaloni Schuster. With the disc, Schuster Shaloni rather, passed it to Romano, then gets the under Fahima, and to Valenci. Schuster Shaloni looking at the end zone from midfield, or center of the field. Valenci goes around for the break. Moradian to Halfon. Halfon goes to Romano. That one, Moyal. Schuster Shaloni right back to Moyal. Great grab by Moyal. The youngster continues to give. That's 3 goals this game. And Hannah, I feel like I could use a cold, slushy drink right about now.
Is it Slurpee time, Steph?
It's 7-Eleven. Get yourself some Slurpees, everybody.
Mate,
it is Slurpee time.
We really need to go for a sponsorship for 7-Eleven. I'm sure they want to expand their footprint over in Europe, right?
Oh yeah, this is where the money's at for them. They should definitely be getting on this.
But speaking of footprints, I'd be really interested to see a little heat map of the movement of René Moyal, especially on this point. It's a little bit of a high one for probably one of the shortest players out on the field, of course. You know, he's still got time for a growth spurt. He's only 15, remember, folks. In this
Ship him some of that Dutch milk.
Perhaps. But, you know, you've got to be mindful of your dietary restrictions in the nation of Israel. But yeah, no, really absolutely fantastic movement around sort of, you know, in that near space to the disc. Kind of, especially when actually kind of I think the hockey assist to himself at René Moyal, that kind of, when he got the disc, the sharp movement when he was looking for the next threat in the end zone, kind of really just commanding presence.
Vidcom to Janssen as the Dutch try to push their lead. De Jong gets Vidcom under. Vidcom very quick to put it into power position. A travel called there. That one, I see a little bit more legitimacy as Vidcom did kind of jab step in a different direction before distribution. How about that? I guess it's a foot drag. So Ravi, again, we speak of Ravi and he speaks back. We've spoken of his mouth, but he's handy with the keyboard as well. But he's keenly watching this group. Of course, if scores stand both here and behind us, this group will be very tight with everyone being 1-1 and do and dies in the final round.
Indeed, because it's the top 2 finishers in the lower power pool that will have a shot at the pre-quarterfinals. give you an insight as to maybe who those opponents could be based on how the top power pools are shaping up.
All right, start digging, Hannah. We're ready for the insight as soon as you've got it for us. Ben Shalom and Tom Janssen having the final bit of their discussion. Janssen brings it into play. Ooh, what a pickup there. Don Janssen, sorry, that's Dex, going to ground and catches that one behind him. Woof. Another look. Nice grab. Travel called on the throw before that.
There was a bit of a takeoff, and I think that's why actually the disc was a little bit quite so quirky. Let's go a second look at it.
Dex to Vidcom, straight back to De Jong. De Jong gets meters to Janssen. Tom Janssen to De Jong, second chance after the Mac. Still in his hands on the doorstep, Vidcom. Vidcom, inside, not in. Dex. Spins around, looking for Vidcom, well defended, asked for it high, decides to chip one forward, and it pays dividends as De Jong cashes in a goal. It's 12-7.
Well, massive shout out to Tavir Jakubovic there, really throwing himself all over the place, got a little piece of that upline cut and then tried to make the bid to stop the scoring pass. But again, the orange machine just continues to steam power its way down the field.
Oranje. I think that's how you say orange in Dutch.
Oranje boven, I think, is go orange.
Okay. And while we're talking about those Dutch, all you people in the Netherlands and Israel and wherever else you are, have you done your civic duty? Have you liked and subscribed to our channel?
And have you thumbs up like this game? Help us best the algorithm.
If we're ever gonna sell sponsorship to 7-Eleven and Slurpee, we're gonna need to show them numbers. And your like and subscription numbers are those that we're gonna need to show them. So do your job, we'll do ours. Everybody's gotta work. We're all in it to win it. Let's win together. Fight alongside this good fight with us. And of course, why not become a patron if you're loving life around here?
Absolutely, and a super fun fact, Tavir Jakubovic is actually, he can't have any Dutch milk because he's lactose intolerant.
Okay, so no Dutch milk for him. He can pass his portions over to Moyal.
Another offside being called.
Offside, Vidcom had a look on the screen. He's not too sure about it, but he accepts it. Big shot goes, Schuster-Shaloni and Janssen there, but Schuster-Shaloni had position. And now he engages Moyal, but he's covered up and zip, dishes one inside. Somersault jump there. Not really, but I like to say it. That's a goal for Valenci and the Israelis.
Yeah, I'll be intrigued to see who was on the matchup for Errol Schuster-Shaloni, because that was clearly a very nice set play that the Israel team came out with. Is that Conor Meyer? To be fair, he's been having a pretty good game thus far on defense. Let's go look at the shorts. Oh no, it is Dan Janssen that took the matchup. So just a case of eventually, if you're marking a player of the caliber of Errol Schuster-Shaloni, there is a point where he is going to win every so often, and that was just a really lovely gainer. Plenty of room, and the rest of the field catching up, giving an easy pass for that eventual goal.
Speaking of the prowess of Janssen, of course there's other Janssens of prominence in Dutch Ultimate, Volt and Jana, but no relation to these Janssens, simply sporting the same name on the backs of their jerseys.
Well, maybe some relations, but much further up the family tree.
Sure. down the long line of Janssens.
Indeed, and a fun fact actually about some of the Israel surnames, because of course there's a history for some of the surnames of not being so welcome in certain parts of Europe. So, for example, Davidovich is actually Davidson over in the UK. So if you ever, sometimes there's real fun facts about the etymology and some of the relations that you would have, again, further up the family tree.
I love etymology. Anybody in the chats want to tell me what words mean, by all means, stick them to us. Dax comes under, gets a gainer to Hasbek. Inside, but that one's not going to work. The defense knocks it away. Schuster Shaloni goes. Halfon. High stall count. Had to jag it, but this may pay off. Schuster Shaloni milked it even with the defense there and made sure when he did catch it, it was a goal. And it's 9-12. A little bit of momentum with the first break of the game for the Israelis.
Well, sometimes a risk pays off. Not a calculated risk, just a chuck it and a hope. But you always hope that you're going to have someone the likes of Schuster Shaloni underneath it when you get to that 9 3/4 release. But a really just great one in terms of the execution. Just sees a flash of blue cutting into the deep space in front. I mean, also heads up to Schuster Shaloni for realizing that the stall count was starting to get high. I'm not sure we're going to see too many more breaks for Israel in this second half. However, their first of the game, and something we actually haven't talked about thus far, is the big difference for the Israel O-line. There hasn't been apart from the one that was taken, there's been one turnover this whole second half for Israel, for their O-line. That was the break to take it to 10-5 when the Dutch scored with 7 passes. But apart from that, it has been, and clean performance as well up until this point from the Dutch O-line. They've had, let's have a quick check. They've had 2 turnovers the whole game, and one of those was taken. So 2 break opportunities.
You'll see in the chat that we've put up a vote. Do you want us to re-upload the full game recording? Basically, was the choppiness in the early stages so bad that the game should be re-uploaded in full? Or was it fine, a little bit in the middle, can be tolerated, and we'll leave it as it is? We love to have your opinion, so let us know. And there is a turn!
Well, I vote yes if this one goes in for another break.
And here comes Schuster Shaloni and Israel. Inside. Valenci. Could it be 2 in a row here? Romano leads Schuster Shaloni. Schuster Shaloni looks to end zone. Gets a cut up line. Gets another cut up line. That one he gives to Romano. Looks to the backfield and gets Paz. Paz fakes the inside, gives to Schuster Shaloni. A lot of work in that corner. Lefty, and they've got one in. 2 breaks in a row. Just when you thought it was all over, the Israelis come back with 2 breaks in a row. It's 12-10, and things are getting interesting.
Well, the adjustments have been made by Israel. They are now finally finding some real great form here. If they can turn this scoreline the opposite way around and get themselves an advantage, it's going to be quite something special. I'm really enjoying, actually, Errol Schuster Shaloni's offhand backhands. He seems to just favor the backhand regardless of the opportunity in front of him. Just getting himself ready for the pull. I have a suspicion we're just going to see him stay on the field for the rest of this game. And the Netherlands are taking a timeout, so the Israel star lineup is going to get a chance to have a rest here, which I can only think favours them. Of course, it's a wise choice for your coaches to take the timeout when you've conceded 2 breaks in a row for the first time in the game. So both sides will have a chance to think and go and get some shade from the sun that is peeking through the clouds here in Padova.
Yeah, good idea to take a break. We're going to take a break too. We'll be back after this timeout. We live in a world where everything can be referenced online. Imagine if the greatest moments in our sport were never filmed. Eurodisc continues to do what it takes to make free-to-watch live streams a reality. Let's leave nothing to the imagination. We'll consume the action live, and we'll support those that help to make it happen. If it wasn't streamed, it didn't happen. Eurodisc.
What a grab! Oh my! Somehow they do it! Come on, Brad!
Unleash your greatness here in Padova. The Israelis on a run, holding 2 breaks in a row, and the Dutch take some time to talk about it, Anna.
It's all starting to happen, but still those pass tallies are quite the statement piece. We haven't seen, of course, the Dutch come out on defense for a little while now, so it might be a zone-based comeback, but if they keep making these short field errors, it's going to really allow the top 7 athletes for Israel to try and get a nose in. I have to say, you were not so confident that Israel could pull off a win here, Stefan, but I think if they can get another break now, if they can cause that pressure, then I do favour those blue-haired boys.
Let's see how it all shakes out. De Jong gets a little bit of space. Hansma to Whitcomb. Whitcomb finds space up the guts. Dax, who's been having an incredible game, goes to Whitcomb. He milks it, but not quite in. Whitcomb back to center. There was a bid, but not enough. Dax with another goal. That young man, 10 stats on the board right now, Hannah.
It really has been quite the display. Another missed bid, but the pressure is still there for the defense. I think that was Leo Pats that had a go. The final pass just about makes it through. But yeah, ULTI.TV has just been cleaning up. As you say, 10 on the stats board, 4 goals, 4 assists, 2 blocks. Just 18 years of age, residing in his hometown of Tilburg, and he's Dutch medium height, being 6'1" or 185 centimeters, depending on your measurement of choice, but has plenty of experience already. Was with the under-17s back at the Joint Juniors last year, had the most goals and assists of all players in his first multiple days tournament, i.e. not just a weekend.
And I heard Rihanna was working a remix to work to be Dirk.
Well, he is putting in plenty of work. He's a soccer athlete who's come across to play Ultimate. He still does. He's not quite given up football. But he's the little brother of Sjoerd Dirks, who's playing on the Dutch seniors team. And watch out. I think it's Sjoerd. Forgive my mispronunciation. But he's coming for you, brother. He wants to be better than you. And with a performance like this, he might well be in with the shot.
And Israel with the disc coming out of their own end. Holfam. Run back and forth with Valenci for 2. Romano cuts upfield. And high stall count. Valenci blades one over to Schuster-Shiloni. Moyal and Schuster-Shiloni play a 1-2 game there. Now Schuster-Shiloni goes back to Falima. And all the way across through 4 sets of hands.
It's not something we've really seen Israel do at all, is throw anything really overhead. Nice to see that blade going over that front poach in the initial section.
Romano doing well there to hold on to his pivot step, allowing the backhand to always be open back inside. Halfam goes backwards. Valenci's there, giving him a easy option. Falima fakes the in, goes the out. Moradian goes all the way across. And I think that was picked off by Valenci. Maybe intended to go all the way across, or maybe I got it wrong. Romano. Sees Schuster-Shiloni. And the bid did just enough. It didn't get a touch, but the pressure was felt. Here it is again, Annie.
Well, when you've played so many points in a row, there is a question asked as to how well on form you can stay, but this is just a stone cold drop. He is watching it into his hands, but a very unfortunate moment, although that is going to go straight into the defense. Terrible choice of throw.
Mayer, and he's looking to the sideline to his coaches instead of picking up on defense. Halfan and Israel get a second chance to hold here. Romano. And the forced switch there, Schuster-Shiloni, not sure if that was by intent or by mistake, but a free gainer to the goal line. Schuster-Shiloni zips one in. Moyal, no error this time. Caught for the goal. It's 11-13.
Yeah, just a straight race to that front cone. René Moyal, again, just turning those jets on at the heels in the last dying moment, just when they need it to come through. But a great recovered point there for Israel. They really are starting to kind of just gnaw away at the Dutch. Of course, a squandered opportunity. Maya, who threw that kind of just a bit of a rushed pass that just went straight into the defense. Another look at the big old drop for Errol Schuster-Shiloni. I'm sure that won't impact him too badly, because he has indeed had a fantastic game. We talked about the stats line of ULTI.TV, but actually, well, there is one negative stat, one turnover, which of course is that drop in the end zone. But apart from that, he's been almost picture perfect. 7 assists and 3 goals in the game. So involved in all but one
of the 11.
Yep, all but one.
That is an impressive stat line.
And as well for René Moyal there, 4 of those goals have been his. So not quite the same impressive stat line, but I have a feel that Errol Schuster-Shiloni might be the stats leader for this tournament when all is said and done.
Could happen. He was 7th, I think, as I said at the start, before this game. So, of course, players don't necessarily chase stats to win these contests, but they do not mind scoring and assisting to help their team. And when you can do it that much, I guess you get a little extra credit sometimes. Wittkamp goes forward, gets that one to Janssen. Janssen back to Wittkamp with a crafty throw. Wittkamp inside. Dax is there. Will he manage the assist? Not immediately, he goes backwards. Now Dax goes to the back of the end zone. That one counts. Van Vorkum with the goal. And Dax does put another assist to his name.
Yeah, a really nice spot there, just at the back of the end zone. Kind of, you can see the little wave he gives in a minute when we get sort of that series of passes towards the break side. That little point saying, I have been poached off, I'm exploitable. A slightly riskier option because of the fact that there is the player in front, but game point now for the Dutch. Can they get it on defense? We have seen the same 7 coming out pretty consistently for Israel in the latter stages. They've tightened up their lines and it has worked out for them up to a point.
And right now, every point matters. Looking at that other game right behind us, it's 14-10. A 4-point margin that would put the Netherlands, the Sweden at +1, currently -3. Dutch, if they were to win it on a 2-point margin, would still be -1. Would leave Israel at a +1 and Ireland at a negative. Oh my goodness, we're going to be splitting hairs here in this division. The point differentials are going to be 1- and 2-point differences before the next game starts.
Indeed, it is really all still to play for, but that is what we love to see. Looks like at the moment at the bottom of those 2 upper power pools, which will be the pre-quarter opponents for the 2 top finishers in this lower power pool. Currently, the Czech Republic and Belgium with 2 defeats to their tallies. But of course, those upper power pools will be playing this afternoon to continue those rankings. Nice sort of hand slap between the 2 players as that brick pool gets moved in.
Romano. Of course, Dutch could end it here if they can break, but it is in the hands of the Israelis. Romano goes over top to Valenci. Valenci, Romano, and Halfan. Valenci. Paz. Oh, that Ben Shalom, in fact, and that one gets away.
Yeah, a real shame. There was a great opportunity for potential over-the-top action to hit this near side swing. Fantastic spacing from Halfon, but they just didn't look for it.
Hand block gets it right back. Valenci there slams the door shut.
So good. He's so good.
And Halfon slowly walking to the disc. Short field now, about 20 meters. And it's in the hands of Halfon. He goes straight back to Valenci. He goes back again. So that 20 meters has turned to about 30, now 35. Romano keeps going backwards. Now they're moving in the right direction. Inside to Schuster-Shaloni. Another one. Back to Schuster-Shaloni. That one from Ben Shalom. Wide and around. Romano. Valenci. Valenci cuts a blade over to Romano. Now inside. Moradian. Halfon. Valenci. Halfon. Romano. Can they extend the game? They need to score to keep this game going. Halfon to Valenci. Back to Halfon. Oh, bobbled, but Romano hangs on. Now Romano drops back. Halfon, far sideline. It's Fahima. He looked to go inside and then straight back to the dump space. Halfon to Valenci, and a timeout called as the Dutch defense tightens up.
Yeah, not a terrible call. I think certainly just that moment where they're getting themselves a little bit of a rest here. Ridiculous redemption there, Halil Romano, just rescuing that slightly errant pass. But the tally rising once more against the Dutch zone. I'm really enjoying kind of the spacing there. Not putting as much pressure on the handler space. In the early stages, the Dutch zone was all about pressuring the disc, really challenging the resets and making the Israel team throw lots of passes close to the disc. But this one seems a little bit more adventurous. It's more spread out. And you see the little celebration there of just keeping the energy high, taking the time out, allowing those legs to be rested, because I think probably a handful, maybe 4 of the 7 players out on the field for Israel right now haven't left the pitch for the last 5 or so points.
Take a break, guys. Catch your breath. We'll be right back with action after this timeout.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
(14-11). Israel hoping to extend this game. Looking for a comeback. Ravi keeps breathing down our neck in the chat. Yes, the point differential may not matter because the next game will be a win or loss. But for first and second, for placings after, that point differential might matter, Ravi.
Well, it also just shows how tight this lower power pool is. The kind of, you know, that's what we want. We want intense, close competition. And Valencia has been an absolute beast in this game. It's actually, he had the chance to meet his sporting hero, Joe White, at Tom's tourney, which he had the pleasure of playing back in 2022. And when he had a chat to the guy, he said he was in full shock. So hopefully no shock in this game.
Valencia. I remember that Tom's tourney. That shot for goal. Schuster Shaloni cashes in. We're going to keep playing here. It's 12-14. The Dutch have not sealed the deal yet.
They have not. And certainly they haven't been able to. They've only recovered 1 point as the O-line of the Netherlands. Of course, they haven't given that many break opportunities throughout the course of this match, but it's entirely possible. There isn't that much gap between them and Israel. Certainly a very different feel to this game than when we had that last Dutch break to take it to 10-5. Israel have closed the gap fantastically.
Yeah, they have been the better team in the last quarter of this game. 7-12 even. And since then, well, they've gone on a 5-2 run to get us to where we are. So Israel finishing strong, but still work to do. And now no time left to concede.
Absolutely, but 5 minutes left on the game clock. So we have been playing for a decent amount, of course, 100-minute time slots here, games to 15.
95 minutes in. We already know it's a game to 15 without the clock because the Dutch have already put 14 on the board. De Jong, Vidkum through traffic, but now wide open. Janssen had a second in power position there, and he put it away. Israel tightening up on the handler marks. Hansma goes to Vidkum. Vidkum back to Hansma, he's all alone. Hansma, De Jong cut up line, but Vidkum filled. Inside shot, Vidkum! Dex for the win! The Dutch get the all-important win in power pool play. And that was a nice way to finish for Derks and Vidkum to connect.
Well, what an absolutely fabulous game we had. It really felt like when we started off the second half, Steph, that we weren't going to get really any action out of Israel. They carried that win through from their pool stage to this power pool over Sweden. But what a great performance from the Dutch. I really enjoyed their help defense that Israel were playing in that final match coverage point. Really good marshalling. There wasn't too much action from the deep space. It was all about those leading passes through the center of the field, just slicing through, and a finish for ULTI.TV. Probably, you have to, hats off to him. Probably the player of this match. Really has been doing damage, and sort of just a quiet way though. He hasn't been doing anything too flashy, just been exceptionally consistent. 2 big blocks, 5 goals and 5 assists for the Dutch side. So a well-deserved win, but everything's still to play for to get themselves into pre-quarterfinals.
So we have to mention his name again. Ravi keeps talking in the chat. Not only is this totally tied up, this pool, for point differential, but everything could not be any more even. It is 15-12 in every single game that we've had in this pool. The 2 carryovers were 15-12, 3-point differentials. This game and the one behind us, 15-12, 3-point differentials. 4 teams, 1-1 with 0-point differential. This is absolute insanity. And yet this is reality. So it looks like we're gonna have an interview here. We're gonna have a pair here, coach and player. Vessels and Dax. We'll start with Dax. ULTI Dax, how are you?
I'm feeling good.
But that's it. If you win, you feel good. If you lose, maybe not.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Last days were tough, so this is nice to get a win.
Quite simple. You had 5 goals, 5 assists, and 2 blocks. Did you realize that you had that kind of a stat line while you were out there playing?
Not really, no.
Yeah, it's fair. That happens sometimes, but you were a huge contributor for your team. You scored the last goal. Talk about how it feels personally to be able to give such a contribution to your team.
Oh, I can see it here.
Yeah. It's all right here. It's all right there.
Oh, that's it.
All the stats are in front of you.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, it's nice to get a win. It's nice to score the last point. Yeah. We talked about it with the coach that this team needed a win because, well, you saw Switzerland. We played really well, but we lost at Universe. I got skied, so I got skied. Yeah, but well, we got the win. Next game is against Sweden.
I'm not sure you guys realize, but it was 15-12 in the other game as well.
Oh.
So your pool, everybody is 1-1, everybody is 0-point differential.
Ah.
So all 4 games that have been carried over have been 15-12. It's a crazy, crazy pool.
So we need to win.
So now it's really just win and move on, or lose and go home,
yes,
so to speak. I'll pass the headset to your coach for a second. Coach Vessels, you've had 3 games on stream. They haven't gone your way yet. A close loss, the first one. Maybe a little less expected loss against Ireland. You guys weren't at your best. Talk about this one, your 3rd game on stream. How do you think the team came together for this one?
Well, like you said, we played an amazing game against Switzerland. The offense was super clean from both sides, actually. So the Universe point was amazing. Against Ireland, like you said, we didn't have our game. Our timing was off. The cuts were off. And we made too many mistakes. Today, especially the first half, we played an amazing half. I don't know how many. I think we didn't got broken the first half, which was insane for our offense. We had some tough games, especially against the Czech. where the timing was completely off. The O-line was struggling a lot. It was amazing to see how they cleaned it up today. It's fortunate for the fans back home that we got streamed 3 times now. It's also quite sad that we got streamed 3 times because maybe you saw it. We play a different style of offense than most teams do. We thought about it, came up with it a year ago, have been practicing it all year, and it's really coming together this tournament, which is great to see.
Well, hopefully it's gonna stay together for your next game, a very huge one. Any thoughts of how you guys are gonna prepare for the Swedes?
Well, the preparation already started yesterday. Of course, we saw the game against Germany. It was also streamed by you guys, by ULTI.TV, which is amazing, very good footage. So that gave us a lot of insights on who their players are, what they try to do, and how we can stop that. So yeah.
Looking forward to that. And of course, the biggest question for all my Dutch guests, if it comes down to it, frikandel or bittenballs, what are you going for?
He goes for bitterballen. I myself are more a viandel guy, which is a crispy frikandel.
Okay. We'll leave you guys with that. Congratulations on the win.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, and good luck in your next match.
Will do.
There we have the big stat leader from that game, Dex, and Coach Vessels in for a nice little chat to finish up the game. And what a game it was. What a division it is. What a power pool, rather, it is, as pointed out in the chat. And Hannah, here's a last look at our match stats from that game. Things leveled out a little bit.
It really was a game of defense, sort of matchups and changes from Israel versus the lack of opportunities that defense was given by the Dutch. 3 break chances, 2 converted by Israel. Of course, those 2 breaks in the second half. It gave us a little bit of excitement, a little bit of, oh, could it possibly happen? But I think it was just a little bit too little, too late. The adjustment was there. I think probably I'd have to credit the coaching decisions on the defense for the Dutch to really just deny constantly, giving themselves plenty of opportunities. 10 clean holds throughout that game, really showing the quality that they're capable of producing. So it's going to be a case of the final matches will mean everything in the lower power pool, trying to advance their way into the championship bracket. But indeed, what an under-20s division. We have so many youngsters out on the field. I think the youngest in this game was 14 years of age. The 2 twins for Israel are 15. Watch out for the Moyals in years to come. They're coming out. The future is so bright, Steph. I'm going to have to go find my shades in my bag because it's blinding and so terrifying and so exciting for our coverage.
You sure that's just not the orange of the Dutch?
Might be a little bit of both. A little column A.
Column B. We're going to get our shades on. We'll give you a reminder. We'll be back at 4 p.m. 1600 hours for our next stream. Great Britain takes on Germany in the open division. And after that, the 6 p.m. last game slot of the day, we'll be back into the women's division. We'll see the Czech Republic take on the Germans again. So lots of action coming up for the rest of the day. You guys go take a break, do whatever work you got to get done, and be back on the stream by 4 p.m. Thanks for being with us. For Hannah Pendlebury, I've been Stefan Rapazzo. You've been on ULTI.TV, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.